everybody. Hello from Colombia. And sorry, I am not all dolled up today. Did not, actually, I still have a little bit of wet hair in the shower, and hair's not done, makeup's not done, but I have decided I want to start making more content for you. So sometimes you might have to see me like that. So hope it's not too scary. Um, So anyway, greetings from Guatapé, Colombia. Today I'd just like to tell you a little bit about Guatapé. So it's a place that I think is not super on the radar for tourism. Maybe if you're more familiar with Colombia, but I had never heard about Guatapé until a friend of mine that lives in Colombia moved here. So um, but I can tell you it's one of, from what I know, what I've seen so far anyway, and what I hear, it's one of the most visually striking towns in Colombia. And it really is visually. It's just, when I first got here, it was like, where's Waldo? There was so much to see, and it was just kind of an overwhelm for my senses, and I couldn't quite grasp everything I was seeing. But as I've been here over time, I'm learning all the different businesses and what's here in Guatapé, and it's kind of grown on me. But if you've ever seen photos of brightly colored buildings, um, the intricate wall art like murals, only it's more than just murals. Like some of these are actually sculptured into the wall, like, so it kind of stands out 3D style, and then everything's painted beautiful colors. Um, and then there's this massive rock. Um, People climb it. I'm afraid that if I tried to climb it, you would never see me again. I would die about a fraction of the way up. Um, so I will give you some pictures of it, but I won't be climbing it anytime soon, or maybe ever. But the rock overlooks this winding blue lake. There's a lake here. It's actually a reservoir. They filled up a valley and it created this beautiful lake. And the town of Guatapé is right next to it. So it's kind of a postcard destination, but it's really more than just a postcard destination. It's a place with history, resilience, culture, and a very intentional identity. So let's talk a little bit about where Guatapé is, what makes it unique, and why people travel all over the world to visit here. Um, and what else does this town represent beyond its beauty? So I'm going to tell you where Guatapé is and why it matters. So it's a small town located in the Antioquia region of Colombia, and that area, that is about, well, Medellin is in, and they say Medellin here in Colombia, but it is also in Antioquia. I don't know if it's considered a state, a province. They're calling it a region. So I'm not sure exactly how that works here. But Medellin is in Antioquia. And so about 2 hours east of there is where you're going to find Guatapé. And so I didn't know this, but despite its size, it's one of the most visited towns in the country. And I can tell you from I've been here for probably 6 weeks or so, 5, 6 weeks, I guess. And I can tell you from my experience, it's very busy. It is very busy, very visited. And most of the tourists are Colombian, but you do see international tourists as well. So what makes Guatapé stand out really is how intentionally it has leaned into this colorful, into this color, like color on all the buildings, all the art. There's Instagram photo ops everywhere, and they just really leaned into tourism while still preserving a strong sense of local pride. It's just a really tiny little town. You can walk just about anywhere in 5 minutes unless you're going out into a residential area, which is more spread out. It does take a while to get out to some of the surrounding area where people live. But the main town area is very walkable and compact, and it's centered around this main plaza. So it gives you that really welcoming community focus feel. Um, I like to go to the plaza and just sit there with the locals and look at the fountain and people watch, and it's just really enjoyable. You can get a nice cappuccino or go for dinner or whatever you want to do there. So um, there are many people that visit Guatapé as a day trip. Lots of buses come out here. So much to the chagrin of the locals, because it's, the buses make and all the people everywhere just make it hard to get around. But it's a really popular trip from Medellín. And once you arrive, it becomes clear that there's a lot more here than just that quick photo stop at the Rock or wherever. So one of the first things you notice in Guatapé is the artwork that I mentioned along the lower half of nearly every building. They call those zócalos, which is confusing to me because I always thought of the zócalo as the center, el centro, the center of the center or whatever uh, in the cities. Most of my Latin American experience is in Mexico, and I've heard that term there a lot. But Zocalo's here, they're like a decorative panel carved or painted in relief, and they actually tell stories about the town and the families that live there. So some of them show farming scenes, animals, musical instruments, religious symbols, or just simply daily life. But what's important about these is they're not random decorations. Each zocalo, it reflects identity, tradition, and pride. So together, they turn the town into this kind of open air museum. And the history is just really built right into the walls. So they're really fun to just walk along and look at and enjoy, take pictures of them. So the focus on storytelling through art is a big reason that Guatapé feels so personal, even for first-time visitors. And just outside the town is Guatapé's most famous landmark, and I alluded to that once already, El Peñol de Guatapé, also known as La Piedra del Peñol. So it's the massive granite rock. It rises more than 600 feet above the surrounding landscape. And as I said, visitors can climb this rock. It's over 700 steps, and the steps are built into a crack along the side of the rock. And they lead to supposedly a very panoramic view at the top, which obviously I have not witnessed. But from there, you can see the incredible network of lakes and islands, and it's just almost surreal. I have seen the great view from up in the mountains here, just not from the top of the rock. The climb is physically demanding, but from what I understand, the reward is one of the most iconic views in Colombia. So if you can do it, do it. And for many people, this is their first introduction to Guatapé. but it really is just the beginning of the experience. So the lakes that you can see from the top of the rock are part of that man-made reservoir. So I'm not sure why it's multiple lakes, but it's all a reservoir created in the 1970s. And several towns and farmlands were flooded to build it, including the original town of El Peñol. So this was a difficult and emotional transformation for the region, but over time, Guatapé adapted and redefined itself. And what could have been a loss became a new identity centered around water, tourism, and recreation. And today, the reservoir supports boat tours, which is something I really want to do and have not done yet. Fishing, I'd love to go fishing in this lake also. And then there's kayaking and other water activities, all the things you do at a lake, right? It also plays a major role in Colombia's hydroelectric power system, which is a big deal. Guatapé's story is in many ways a story of resilience and reinvention. So despite the number of visitors, Guatapé remains very much a living town. People work here, they raise their families here, maintain traditions that existed long before tourism. Life moves at a slower pace than in major cities, and the locals gather in the plaza. Small businesses are family run, and community events still matter. I think it's every Saturday, but anyway, some Saturdays for sure. Weekends, not just Saturdays. They have a little market in the center plaza. They sell artisan crafts. There's food vendors. They sell produce, cheeses, whatever they have to sell. So the balance between welcoming visitors and protecting the local culture is something Guatapé takes very seriously. And it's part of why this town still feels authentic rather than staged. Food in Guatapé reflects the larger Antioquia region. You'll find traditional Colombian dishes. There's a lot of Colombian restaurants, and fresh fish from the reservoir. And the local coffee. I can't say I've had a bad cup of coffee anywhere. There's a lot of opportunities for cappuccinos and lattes, or just a plain old cup of coffee, whatever you like. And of course, it's Colombian coffee, which is very popular. And then there's lots of street snacks sold near the plaza as well. So meals here are simple, hearty, and meant to be shared. Eating in Guatapé is not so much about fine dining and more about connecting with the place and the people. And I will say my experience, I'm not a huge fan of Colombian food, although I've had some things that I do like a lot. But the international restaurants here, the Asian restaurant, the Italian restaurant, Mexican restaurant, I've tried. All of these have been super good, really good. There's some bars that have bar pub food kind of meals. I've had a great hamburger here. All these are very good. But for many visitors, sitting in the plaza with a cup of coffee or a traditional meal becomes one of the most memorable part of the trips, and I think that applies to me as well. So, why do people fall in love with Guatapé? I think it's the combination of color, nature, and intention. So nothing here feels like it's an accident. The town chose to be vibrant. It chose to tell its story through art, and it chose to grow through tourism without losing its sense of self. So Guatapé reminds people that small places can have strong identities and that beauty can be purposeful. not just decorative. And that makes me think of the small town I came from that has developed its tourism, but still holds a strong identity. So I kind of connect with that, you know. Uh, so I would think of Guatapé as more than just a destination, but more like an example of how culture, history, and creativity can work together to shape a place. I don't know if you can hear that. There's actually a bell at the cathedral that goes off periodically too. It doesn't like ring the number of times for the hour. It seems to kind of do the same kind of ring every time, but it's interesting to listen to that. Um, okay, so whether you're visiting in person or learning about Guatapé from afar, it offers something valuable. Just that a community can evolve and can let people enjoy the beauty, the wonderful things that it has to offer without forgetting who they are. So I hope you've enjoyed this talk about Guatapé and um, the photos and videos included. I just wanted to share the town of Guatapé with you because it was so new to me when I first came to Colombia. So, I hope you enjoyed all that, and if you do get any kind of value from the content, I hope you'll like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. It just helps